Hi and welcome to another Sunday meal prep with me. My name is Mia and this is my kitchen. I try to do a Sunday meal prep to stay ahead of the coming week. And today I think we're going to do two things. We are going to do one big like a macaroni and ham casserole. We call it pudding, but that is probably just the Swedish. But I'm going to do it in this one, this oven tray. So this is the maximum I can fit in my oven. So we are going to make a macaroni and ham casserole in this one. And we're also going to use the other one I have of these. My oven comes with two of these deep trays. And we are going to bake some bread. We call them tea cakes if I just translate it from Swedish. That is not correct. Well, they become like a portion-sized bread, but you cut them in squares in the tray later, and it's really easy to make. It becomes this fluffy white bread, which is good for my children, especially my soon-to-be 10-year-old who has lost quite a few teeth now, so he wants soft and easy-to-chew bread. So that's what we're going to do today. One macaroni and ham casserole and one batch of fluffy white bread. So let's get started. For the macaroni and ham casserole, I plan to use this meat. This is going to be quite hard to see, but this is actually cubed cooked ham meat. Cooked ham. In Sweden we have this as a Christmas ham. You cook it and then you bake it in the oven with some mustard on. But after Christmas you can buy these super cheap. And I did that last Christmas, and then I trimmed all the fat, put them in, cut them into cubes and put them in freezer bags. And I have two of these. So this is about 1 kilo of ham. And then I have 2 packs of macaronis, pasta, one with colors in it, so I think it's going to be nice. And so this is also 1 kilo of pasta. And I'm going to put some onion in and some spices, and then we're going to make I'm going to cook the ham in a skillet with a lot of spices, so it gets flavorful and gets a little texture on it. Because now it's rather, well, it's just boiled ham. It's a little mushy. And then we're going to make egg and milk mixture and some cheese, and then we're going to bake it all in the oven, and it will be set casserole. Really yummy. My kids love it. Everyone loves it. So that will be a lot of food for this week. I have started by putting my biggest pot on the stove with the water and a little bit of salt, and that is for the pasta. Because I'm going to boil this to almost completely done before we mix everything together. And I will also mix everything together in that big pot, so that I won't get any more dishes than necessary. I'm going to finally dice my onions, and then I'm going to cook them in some oil till they're completely soft. And this is because if I do that, it will add some sweetness to the casserole, and my kids basically won't find them, which is good. You could put anything in this. The base is actually the pasta and the egg and milk mixture. You could use bacon. You could make other sausages of different kinds. Anything that you have, and or that's on sale, and that is really good. This is a very cheap meal. Ooh, that was a strong onion. I'm gonna rinse this. Oh. Usually it goes just fine when I'm chopping onions, but sometimes, whew. Now we go to the stove. So my skillet is getting up to a little bit of temperature. Not that high. I've turned on level 6 of 9.
And now that the pasta water is boiling, I'm going to add the pasta. I'm going to cook it for about 10 to 11 minutes, but you cook it according to the package and it will be just fine, almost completely cooked. The onions are starting to get translucent, which means that they are really sweet to the taste and no longer strong, which is excellent and will add a nice flavor to the casserole. Now it's time to add the cooked ham, and I'm adding both bags, and then I'm gonna fry them with onions for a while just to get a little more texture to each cube, since they've been frozen and so on. So that's gonna be frying for a little while before we add all the flavorings. The pasta is boiling along nicely, and while we wait for the meat to fry, I'm going to grate the cheese that we're going to use later in the construction of the casserole. The pasta is done, and now it's drained and rinsed in cold water, and I'm also putting that aside. Now it's time for the flavoring of the meat mixture. I'm adding what's left in this tube of tomato puree. I don't know what it is, about 2-3 tablespoons, and that will add a lot of nice flavor and color to the casserole. But here you can flavor any way you like and whatever you have. But this is what I'm adding this time. I'm adding garlic powder, paprika. I'm also adding smoked paprika because I don't have any bacon or anything other that's smoky in this one. And then this is ancho chili. It's a chili powder that's hasn't got a lot of heat, but it's a little bit smoky as well. Some oregano and some thyme. And then you just season with salt and pepper to taste. I won't add a lot of salt because the ham is already salty, so I don't want it to be too salty. But it needs a lot of flavor because this is what flavors the whole casserole. Because the pasta is sort of flavorless and the milk and egg mixture is also kind of bland. So this is where you set the flavors. Now I'm tasting it and it is really good. It's quite salty, but that's good because it needs to salt the rest of it. And it's almost like a chili type flavors, but without the cumin. So it's chili, Italian chili sort of. It's really good. It will work well.
Now that our components are basically done, I have put our meat mixture in with the pasta. I'm just going to stir this together and combine it really well so that basically every pasta macaroni has a bite of meat when I put it in the casserole. And then we're gonna mix all of this. This way we also flavor the pasta. As you can see, this is quite a bit of food and it's quite heavy, but it usually works in my pan. So I'm going to mix this and then we're going to make the egg and milk mixture. Smells so good. You see that it's all still very warm. I did rinse the pasta in some cold water, but the meat mixture is warm. But it's okay because everything is gonna bake in just a few minutes, so it doesn't really need to. I don't have to make the time to cool it. But you can if you want to. If you want to make one thing one day and another part of this another day, and then combine them and put them into a casserole. So that is absolutely fine. Now we are going to take 8 eggs and think about 1 liter, 10 deciliters of milk. I think that would be pretty good. I've already started the oven, so it's preheating to 200 degrees Celsius. So that we can just, and then since everything basically is cooked except for the eggs, it will be in the oven for 30-40 minutes till the egg mixture has set and till the top of the casserole looks delicious. It isn't more scientific than that. You have to wait till it looks delicious in the oven, and then it's done. We're going to whisk this. And hopefully just spill a little, not a lot. I'm going to measure up 10 deciliters of milk. Yeah, should be good. I'm going to put some salt and pepper into this. When it comes to pasta dishes, even you can almost not have too much black pepper because it's so good with pasta. There's your salt. So since this is really warm, I don't think I'm going to put the egg mixture in here, but I'm going to put the cheese in and stir it. Turn it into a block of cheese again. It's good. I'm going to help it. Got a bunch of cheese. Don't need super much, just to make it creamy. A little more creamy, a little cheesy flavor. I like to stir it in so it's in the casserole more than on top. That just looks good. I'm going to transfer it to our dish. Oh my, it's a lot of food. Show you what it looks like right now. I'm gonna squish it out. I have to press it down a little bit because otherwise it won't fit. Now we're gonna pour on the egg mixture. It's still a little runny in my nose from the chopping of the onion. It's good. It's almost like a nose spray. nature's nose spray. Don't get hungry actually. Oh, little have to go. And whisk it up. Pour it on. And it was the exact amount. The egg mixture is now about 1.5 to 2 centimeters from the top, and it will expand a little. So I think we're good. If I can put it in the oven without making a mess. All this pasta on top is gonna brown a little and maybe be a little hard. Now it's actually, they like roasted. That is actually the best pieces with some ketchup. So now I'm gonna put this in the oven for at least 30 minutes and then we'll look at it. Well, this is how the macaroni and ham casserole looks after about 30 minutes in the oven at 200 degrees Celsius, and then I turned off the oven and left it in there for about another 20 minutes because I wanted to be a little bit, they're not hard, so they're like unedible, but a little bit crispy on the top. I'm going to show you that it's completely set, no liquid left. And now if I leave it for a while, you will be able to cut squares and lift them up into food containers, bring for lunch, eat during the week. It smells lovely, it weighs a ton, so this is a lot of food. Maybe 8 to 10 portions of food. So, one thing done for the upcoming week. Now we're going to start with the white fluffy bread that I'm going to make today in also a big oven tray. I'm going to use my kitchen assistant, and as you maybe can see, this one isn't exactly new. I've inherited it from my grandmother, but it works really well, even though it is probably about maybe 40 years old, something like that. Still works fantastic when making bread dough. So for this bread, we are going to need some fresh yeast, some room temperature butter, some little bit body temperature, like milk. And I've actually, we're going to do 6 deciliters of milk, but I actually used 4 deciliters of milk and then the rest water, because I think it's enough, and we bake a lot of bread, so I try to stretch the milk, keep it a little cheaper. We're going to do some syrup and some salt and some regular wheat flour, white. It's about 75 grams of butter and then 50 grams of fresh yeast. And we're going to have 2 teaspoons of salt and 2 tablespoons of syrup. I'm going to eyeball the syrup. I'm going to measure the salt. The flour, the recipe calls for 13 to 14 deciliters of flour. But I never go by measurement. I try to look at a dough in the machine. So I'm going to move the camera so that you can see in the machine while we are adding stuff. First, we're going to crumble up our packet of yeast in the in the bowl. And then we're going to add a little bit of the milk and start the machine. And then the machine will move everything around and dissolve the yeast. I'm going to add the rest of the milk. The butter. Then I'm going to eyeball the syrup. 2 tablespoons. The salt. One. 2 teaspoons. And then we start adding flour until the dough looks nice. I think now it's starting to look good. The dough roll is basically coming out sort of clean. And the dough is just a little sticky, almost nothing to the touch. I don't want to add too much flour. So I think we're gonna stop it here. I'm gonna remove this dough spatula and the dough roll. And then cover this with tea towel and let it prove for about 40 minutes. That's the first proof. So that's how easy you can make a bread dough, even with a 40+ year machine. Now the dough has been allowed to prove for a bit over 40 minutes, and this is how it looks. It's been proving exceptionally well. So here's one of the best parts with this recipe is that I'm gonna bake it out in the baking tray, not making a mess on the countertop, nothing at all. So what I'm doing is that I'm sprinkling a little bit of flour flour to keep ready. And then I'm just gonna remove the dough from the bowl onto the baking tray directly. The dough. Okay, so now we see it. Okay. It's gonna be a little messy. Only a little. I will cover the surface with a little bit of flour so that I can push it out. I'm gonna fill the whole thing. It's a little bit sticky, but that means it's not dry. So don't want too dry bread. So this will actually be a good amount of bread for the start of the week. And basically no mess and almost no dishes. Fantastic. And it will be soft and fluffy just like my children need. And so now I filled it. Now we're gonna make the lines and put some holes in it. So I usually use one of these little sharper dough scrapes. I think that works well when you want to make cuts in bread like this. The recipe says that it will be 12, but I usually cut out to get 16. 4x4. It will be a little bit of different shapes, sizes. It's all good. I mean, you don't always want the exact same size on your sandwich. And then I'm just going to use a normal fork. There. Now this is going to get to prove another time. A second time, and for about 30 minutes. And before the proving time is up, I will have put on the oven at 230 degrees Celsius, because that's what we're going to bake this in. See you then. Now the bread has been proving, but it got a little longer than expected, maybe 50 minutes instead of 30. So here we go. Look at this fluffy fluff. Well, this will be excellent. Now my oven is at 230 degrees Celsius, and I'm gonna put this in about the middle of the oven for 20 minutes, 20 to 24 minutes. It says in the recipe, but last time I did this, it was enough with about 20 minutes. And now, after 20 minutes in the oven, the bread is done. Put it on a cooling rack right when it was done. And I'm going to show you how nice and fluffy these breads are. Look. They are super nice. You cut them this way. You can fill them up or just have butter, and basically you can use these for like lunch. You fill them up with boiled eggs or ham and cheese, and it's a really good bread. Good flavor, great texture, especially for kids. But good. 16 squares of white fluffy bread. And our big macaroni and ham casserole, which have been tried, and it was a success. Well, that's all for this week's Sunday meal prep. I hope to see you again in the next one. Until then, take care.